TM 55203, Chapter Maintenance of a Railway Car, Chapter 8 Car Braking Equipment. If this is not the most important one, I believe it is. Section 1 Car, Truck and Braking Gear. 8.1 General Braking Gear with the whole combination parts of the car and the train working together slow down on the stopping motion of the car. These trains parts include the foundation of the brake system. On many overseas railways, a vacuum brake system is used in lieu of the standard air brake system found in the United States. B. A truck brake assembly includes loose parts of the foundation of the brake is secured directly to the truck and includes the truck lever, bottom of the connection rod, bottom of the braking rod, brake beam, and safe support of the truck dead lever, and the dead lever falcon, the brake beams, the brake beam heads, the brake shoes, and all pins, and etc. needed to assemble the completion in Figure 429. The dividing point of the connection is the truck lever is the remainder of the foundation of the gear. See, the foundation of the brake gear includes those of the known brake gear parts and standardized regulation specification required in braking ratios as fixed in Association of American Railroad regulations, which are strictly adhered to these regulations incorporated in the Department of the Army specification all railway equipment from overseas or domestic services. D. In certain railway equipment, such as press center flat cars, exceptional long passenger cars such as citrus trains, train cars, because of the long congested center sections unframed and require the separate braking cylinders mounted on each truck of the effective braking type, braking action loop, conventional single body mounted brake cylinders, foundation brake gear, and difficulty circumvented mounting completion independently braking cylinders and foundation braking brake gear on each of the truck. 8.2 The foundation of the brake gear. General. The foundation of the brake gear, Figure 8.1 and 8.2, is defined in lever rods and brake shoes and brake beams and similar equipment, either secured directly to the car or the associated the car trucks through the component of the parts on the system. These parts are connect the brake shoes, handbrake systems to the piston rods and brake cylinders, the air brake system, and this connection is so that it is made in the handbrake operated. The air pressure for the piston out of the braking shoes to force against the wheels with the action slow as down as stops of the car, the train, depending on its speed and extent of the brake application, the frequency of the application of the brake beams, the brake shoes, and etc. illustrated in 429. B. The brake lever badge plate. A standard standard badge and dimension plate shown on the dimension of the truck body levers, which are standard for each of the car, was adopted for the Association of American Railroads in 1928. The badge plate in Figure 8.2 is made of metal and fastened under the frame of the car and in an accessible place, preferably near the brake cylinder. This plate gives the proper dimensions of the lever in the body and the truck brake levers. After approved of the badge plate has been applied to any car's levers will be checked to see that they conform the standard dimensions requirements, or as part of the rules and effective railroad governing annual repairs to the brake and brake cars. If wrong levers are found, they will be replaced with all levers conforming with dimensions shown on the badge plate. By 8.3 The brake gear regulators. Generally, several type of brake gear regulators are usually in brake. The regulators take up slack manually. The brake gear to adjust the piston travel. Automatic slack adjuster. Figure 8.3 must be properly regulated at each time piston is adjusted to ensure the sufficient time take up available to maintain the piston travel in route and service maintained described in paragraph 16.7 and 8.19 of 3 of these regulators are described below, but Figure 8.1, the foundation of the braking diagram. You have here's the brake rod, the push rod, the cylinder rod, your lever guides, your cylinder level, your top truck rod, and back to your truck lever guide and brake beam fulcrum into a bottom rod, and which is known as your truck dead lever guide rod and your dead lever fulcrum over here, and then it goes on to the floating lever fulcrum, the level guide, the floating lever, your top truck rod, your truck lever, your brake beam fulcrum, your bottom rod, your truck dead lever, and your dead lever fulcrum. Type 1. B. Type 1. One type is provided by the notch pull rod at each end of the car and is connected to the dead lever. To adjust the piston travel, pull straight on the handle, which is located on the right side of the coupler, and let's go. And in a pull of the notch pulled, the rod locks when the rod is pulled as far as it will go. Then go down to the opposite end of the car. Repeat the operation to the real release the slack to change the brake shoes, pull the handle, and then gives it 1/8 of a turn to right, and then these push the bolt back all the way, and this gives the maximum slack of the brake. Type 2, another type of provided ringing lever, is extended in the horizontal position to a point under the outer edge of the car near the center. Of some applications of the hopper car, it is located in one end, and the lever actuates the notched square bar of the pawl underneath the bar. Engine gauge is notched. A single lever serves to take up the slack of the both trucks. To adjust the piston tread, will pull the handle and lever as far as it will go, and then release the slack and push up all the pawl, and then push back the handle as far as it will go. Type 3, the third type is providing a rotating square shaft when it's placed in a horizontal position under the car body, extending underneath the outer sill of the car, and 2 holes of the drill, and through the end of the square shaft, the short bar with inserted the hole in any of the 4 sides. The pawl wheel is placed on the shaft in direction to the two-turn shaft and take up the slack indicated by an arrow of the housing enclosing the pawl wheel. When taking up the slack, inserting the short bar in the hole in the shaft and turning up the shaft directly indicated in the arrow as far as it will go, and release the slack, release the pawl, and turn the shaft as far as it will go to the opposite direction. Adjust this type and is shown in figure 8.4. Here you have your badge plate. This has your 8 inches by 16 inches, 13 and a half inches by 22 and an eighth of an inch, 16 and a quarter inch by 9 and 3/4 of an inch. Here's your brake rigging. These are typical brake level badge dimensions. We'll start at the top left-hand corner and from the inside. 14 inches, 7 inches, 95 inches, 8 inches by 16 inches, 125 inches, 22 inches, 13 inches, 75 inches, 9 inches, 16 inches, 120, 16 to 8 inches to 95 to 7 to 14. This is an important chart. It's 8.3, the brake regulator automatic type. The ABCs of braking, rigging, and adjustment for the model 1480 brake regulator. The picture captions the rod end of the brake rod and then one welding tail and jam nut into an X mounted screw extension release. While in the welding tail, you can adjust from plus or minus 3 inches, and then it moves on to the housing, the pawl box, the trigger with its gap, and it acts between the actuator level and the jaw end of to move the fulcrum to the adjusted position. At the actuator control app in the gap, they move the control of the rod to adjust the piston travel. Here on the left side, the far what to do if. C, the BC2 if the piston travel is too long. Piston travel is too short, C, B, and C2. Brake shoes need replacing, C, A. On dimension 7, dimension X is incorrect, C1 and B3. Brakes cannot be hooked up because of insufficient shoe clearance, C3. Check out section C3. If the regulator will not take up, go to section C2. If the regulator will not let up, let's go to section C2. Unit has been replaced, C4. 2 inches brake shoes unused of the replaced original 1.5 inches, A4. Notes: the module 1480 brake regulator is double setting, fully automatic, and mechanical slack adjustment correctly installed. This device is maintained properly travel, identifying as shows the wear until they would take it up and shoes are replaced until they let out, and mechanically maintain the piston travel and regulator, which should be made on a braking hinge and without exception. When the wheel changes and are made at the bottom of the rod should be adjusted from the proper of the truck level, singular in section C2. CA, how to replace a brake shoe. To replace 1 or 2 shoes, remove the old shoes and apply new shoes. Do not move any brake pins. Do not move any brake pins. Repeat, do not move any brake pins. 2. Replace more than 2 shoes of the brake on the head before removing the shoes and wheels. Apply the brake by as many shoes as in clearance will be permitted. Block and repeat until all shoes have been changed. Do not move any brake pins. If 6 and 8 shoes are to be changed, it may be quicker to disconnect the actuating lever in figure 1 or control the rod in figure 2 in order to create all necessary slack at one time. To do this, proceed all the following. Remove the actuator lever and control the rod, removing the braking pins. Replace pins to connecting rigging. Apply and release and handbrake. Apply new shoes. Replace actuator level on the ride. And 4 2-inch brake shoes can be used in place of original 1.5-inch shoes without any manual adjustment in most cases. If the screw extension dimension X exceeds 19 inches, it will be necessary to lengthen the brake and backing out of the thread and welding tail in the figure 1. Both remaining and thread engagement must not be less than 1/3 of an inch. Section B. To adjust the piston travel. Piston travel controlled by the gap spaces between the trigger and the actuator level, figure 1, and trigger control and rod in figure 2. Before changing, adjusting, making several servicing brake applications to make pistons incorrect. The piston travel in 7 inches, weight and a half inches diameter cylinders, 5 3/4 of an inch diameter. Cylinders within 50 psi cylinder pressure. Do not change settings. Read section C2. If adjustment is necessary, shorten the piston travel by actuating closer and trigger, and increase the piston travel by moving the actuator away from the trigger. This amount must be changed approximately the desired change in piston travel. 3. Do not attempt to adjust the piston travel in moving the brake pins. A is taking up. On braking, rigging will not shorten piston travel through. It will not shift. Taking up a braking rigging will not shorten piston travel, but will cause a screw extension figure 1 to extend, making the dimension X longer. Letting out the brake rigging will not increase the piston travel, but will cause the screw extension figure 1 to take up and make the decision X shorter. Section C. 1. The screw extension length. C in the figure 1 indication is available. Taking off the left of the regulator within the shoes and wheels in dimension X is shown to be less than 17 inches minus 1 inch. In shoe wear is automatically becomes less. As they are replaced and X becomes larger. Normally no manually adjustment is required. If proper brake rigging adjustment has been made and 2 inches shoes applied in place of 1.5-inch shoes or MW wheels are turned down and screw extensions may be getting out of adjustment. The X exceeding a 19 piston travel may get it shorter, adjusting letting out the brakes in section B3. B. If X reduces 1 or less of the piston travel may be getting along, adjust the taking of the brakes in C section B3A. If the brakes cannot be hooked up and the causes and track brake repairs and should clearance because of dimension X is too short, remove the actuator level in C section A3, chain rod and car structure, and set the handbrake. If come along or ratchet puller is available, connect the screw or rod in and pull out within the disconnection actuator level. Here you see the length. Your R and A. See the note of the welding tail and the jam nut, the screw extension, the housing, the pawl box, the trigger, the Falcon bracket, the actuator level of the Falcon, the actuator level, and the length. The instruction plate placed on the car, which having the typical brakes of the adjustment contains the instruction within this illustration. Do not operate the handbrake with the rigging and disconnected in the brake. If the operator checking first remove the actual lever when replacing for any reason for rod length, the right of the pinhole jam nut and must be maintained to do the dimension length of the references. The various changes in A. Piston travel is determined of the location of the actuator level in the fulcrum and permanently is the original installation. The selection A indicates amount of take up and remaining regulator at any time or on the car having many shoes or wheels or screws extensions and a shoe between 16 and 18ths of an inch measured of the brake sets as shoes and wears the A and will decrease the new shoes and installed and it will increase. And moving a brake pin or changing the rod lengths will change piston to travel but will change A, therefore will repairing the car rod lengths and pin location must be maintained. That is 8.4 brake regulator manual type. That's brake regulator manual type. Section 2 handbrakes.